Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. First of all, I just want to get this out of the way. I want to apologize for my appearance today and maybe my energy. I'm absolutely exhausted. I'm tired, had a long week at work, went on a 10-mile ruck march last night, didn't get to bed till like 1 a.m. Now I'm up recording. It is what it is. You're going to have to deal with my ugly, sleepy mug. The other thing was this is actually the second time I'm recording this video. I upgraded to Windows 11 because Windows made me, and it reset a lot of settings. So when I recorded this a moment ago, I didn't have any audio. So I'm going to try to remember what I said the first time because that video was absolutely perfect. So if this one's not perfect, I'm sorry that you didn't get to see the first one. But regardless of those annoying little facts, the video for today, the topic is going to be, sometimes it is appropriate for a police officer to do nothing. The reason I say this, I was talking to one of my buddies the other day, who's an FTO, and we were talking about young officers, new officers, training new officers, and all these other things. And one of the things that I find annoying about new officers that I just have to kind of take it in stride because I was once there as well. And one of the most important concepts that I think I would try to impart upon new officers is that sometimes the best thing that you can do on a call is nothing. And that's something that people have a hard time understanding. Not only do new officers have a hard time understanding that, but sometimes the people that call also have a hard time understanding that. Sorry. I'm also sipping on some apple decaffeinated tea to try to wake up my my vocal cords. But the people who become police officers, we're typically kind of men and women of action. We're doers. We like to do things. We like to help people. That's the reason we took this job. We're not the kind of person that's just going to typically just sit in our house, look out the window, and hope that somebody else solves the problem. We're the people that come out and solve problems. And when we're responding to a call, it's because somebody believes there is a problem. The thing that we have to remember as police officers is that just because somebody believes there's a problem doesn't mean it is a problem. And the thing that the callers need to understand is that they saw something that alarmed them, so they called the police. The police are going to often respond to that call, evaluate the situation, and decide whether or not something needs to be done. As police officers get more and more experience, you start to realize that more and more frequently you're responding to calls where absolutely nothing needs to be done. This is something that is really difficult for new officers because they'll respond to a call. Their first thought is somebody called, therefore something needs to be done. I need to do something. This person's not cooperating. I need to put my hands on them. And then things start to go downhill. I'm going to use this video as an example because I think it's a great example. Not only is it a great example of where it looks like the officer didn't do anything, but also I saw some comments saying as such. This is a comment on this video. It's not the only person that made a similar comment. This is the one I want to highlight. Says, great policing. He stood there and did nothing. Go eat a donut because you're fucking hate grammar. You're obviously not interested in helping citizens anyway. Normally what I do in this case is I reply with like grammar police stuff, but they must have caught me when I was not on my game. So, you get calls like this. And then I just posted a video where, a neighbor called about lady next door yelling and screaming, and the officers went out, talked to this lady, took her trash out for her and left. And the original caller wanted to complain that the officers didn't do anything and that a social worker should have responded and a social worker would have known what to do. And I saw some comments like that on this particular video as well. But there's a couple of things that I want to point out about what was happening in this video. I think everybody has seen it. If you haven't seen it, go to my body camera channel and watch it. I'm just going to leave the screen paused here. As far as an officer doing nothing, that is not what's happening in this video. The officer, me, is actually doing something. This is Tina Marie. She's lived on the West Side forever. I believe she's currently homeless, but she was not homeless a short time ago, 7-8 months ago. The house that she was living in, to my knowledge, either the person that owned it died and she ended up getting kicked out of that house, or it might have been a nuisance abatement type thing because there was a lot of drug addicts living in that house. I can't quite remember. But I'm very familiar with Tina. I've been dealing with her for years. Every police officer that I know that works on the West Side is very familiar with her. Many of us have stories about her. She is one of those people that every time I see her, I stop and talk to her. The reason I stop and talk to her every time I see her is because I want to help her. I want to get her off the street. I want to get her back normal, like a regular functioning member of society, which she is currently not. I've had many interactions with Tina. As a matter of fact, one of them, probably a year and a half ago, I was just driving down the road. I was driving down this very road that we're on right now, because this is the area that she likes to hang out in. I was driving down the road and she actually stepped off the sidewalk and was flagging me down. I was like, whoa, man, what has Tina got for me today? So I pulled off in the parking lot. I rolled my passenger window down. She literally leans into my car as comfortable as can be. And she says, hey, can you do me a favor and run me for warrants? This is the first time in like 14 years and I've not been on probation. I don't have any warrants. I was like, Tina, are you sure you want me to do this? Because if I become aware of a warrant, I'm required to act. Usually when you're a police officer and you're driving down the road and you see known people like this, that they're, for lack of a better term, they're crazy. And there's a good chance that they're going to have a warrant. It's best if you just don't run that person. If I don't know, I'm not required to act. If somebody has a warrant, I'm required to act. It's actually in the state code for dereliction of duty. But if I don't know, then I can't be held accountable for it. And if I have to arrest her with her mental health issues and stuff, it's going to turn into a use of force. And I'm going to have to call for additional cars. She might possibly get hurt. And it's just not worth it for a misdemeanor warrant. Therefore, when I see Tina Marie, I don't look her up. It is what it is. But on this day, she was confident that she didn't have any warrants. So, I typed her name in, I said a little prayer, I hit enter, and there were no warrants that came up. She was grinning ear to ear, all smiles. She was all proud of herself. And that was basically it. She's like, all right, thanks a lot. Have a good day. She asked me my name, and then she took off. From that day forward, every single time that I see her, I stop and talk to her. Often she's not in this kind of state. She's just standing on the side of the road. So I just roll my window down, talk to her. She'll ignore me, or she'll give me a mean mug, or she'll turn and walk away. I'll follow her down the street for a second, say something out the window to her. If I get a similar response, then I just leave. Sometimes people will not want to talk to you on a main street, but when you get onto a side street, they talk to you because people won't see them talking to the police. So it is what it is. This particular day, though, she had all of this stuff out on the sidewalk. So I stopped to talk to her, and I was trying to gauge whether or not she was going to be willing to go with me willingly to a treatment facility. I said willing too many times in one sentence. Get over it. So I get out and I talk to her. As I'm talking to her and she's not responding to me, I'm watching what she's doing. I'm not doing nothing. I'm actually evaluating the situation. This was, in my opinion, a positive interaction with a person who struggles with serious mental health problems. She has serious mental health problems, and she also abuses drugs. So we see her in different states throughout the day, weeks, months, years, whatever it is. This particular day, based on my experience dealing with people with drug and mental health problems, and dealing with her specifically, I came to the conclusion that, you know what, this is kind of baseline for her. This is normal. She's responding the way you would expect somebody to respond if you ask them to pick up a bunch of stuff. And I don't even think in the video I asked her to pick up the stuff that was on the sidewalk. I just went and began talking to her. She immediately made the connection in her brain that a police officer was talking to her, that she had stuff strewn out all over the sidewalk, and that she needed to fix this problem. So she picked everything up and she moved on. I did my best to talk to her. She didn't want to talk to me, which is definitely her right. And she cleaned up and she left. The other part of it is, what did he say? Go eat a donut because you're obviously obviously not interested in helping citizens anyway. If I didn't want to help her, I wouldn't have stopped her. The alternative, what do you expect me to do in this case? She didn't want to go with me. This is her baseline. This is her normal everyday activity. Did I have enough to force her into care? I have 12 years of experience on the street, working this side of town, working with people with drug addiction and extreme mental illness and homelessness and all these other things. I have a lot of experience with this kind of stuff. I've taken people like Tina when they were completely out of their minds. Like if she was naked and running around the middle of the road, I would have had to do something. I would have had to put my hands on her. I would have had to handcuff her. We might have had to tase her. We would have had to pick her up. Actually, we probably wouldn't have put her in a cruiser. We would have called for a medic. A medic would have given her a sedative to calm her down, would have handcuffed her to the cot in the medic. They would have transported her to the hospital. The hospital would have sat on her for a day or two. They would have given her medications. They would have spoken to her and said, Tina, how do you feel? You're thinking about harming yourself, harming any other people? Are you going to run out in the street anymore? She would have said, no, I was out of my mind. I'm sorry. They let her go. 2 days later, she's out on the street doing the exact same thing. It's not worth it in a situation like this for me to go and try to put my hands on her, possibly get in a fight, possibly injure her, do all of these things when she's not in danger. She's not a danger to anybody else. This is just normal for her. This is what I understand from my experience. The other thing, and I mentioned it a moment ago, that this was a positive interaction. I created a positive experience for her. This is something that I want to build that rapport, and I want in her mind to know that she can trust the police, that the police aren't going to put their hands on her when it's not appropriate, this, that, and the other thing, because I don't want her running from me every single time that I come into contact with her, because one of these days that I come in contact with her, she is going to be completely out of her mind. I'm going to have to put my hands on her. And I don't want her to have a backlog of multiple bad experiences with the police, specifically with me as a police officer, when I come in contact with her. I can tell you that I ran into her again the other day. I drove past her twice. She was eyeballing me both times that I drove past her. I ended up going around the block, coming up behind her at the stop sign she was at. I rolled the window down, said, "Hey, Tina, how are you doing today?" And she looked at me. She said, "I'm good." And I said, "Okay, I'm glad you're doing well. Is there anything I can do to help you today?" She said, "No, I'm fine." And I said, "Okay, I'm not trying to bother you. I just want to let you know that I'm checking on you, that I care." And she looked at me and she goes, "I appreciate that. I just don't like talking to cops. Goodbye." And then she turned and walked away. We're building these positive interactions so that when she is ready for help, or when she's in a really bad way, hopefully my presence alone and my previous interactions with her will register in her brain. I can't guarantee that they will, but I know that I definitely don't want the opposite of that to be true. So it might look like the officer is doing nothing. When you make a call for service, the officer is actually doing a lot of things. Just because you think there is a problem doesn't mean that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And also with young police officers, they need to realize that, just because somebody called doesn't mean you actually have to do anything. You learn relatively quickly as a police officer that there will be people who will be angry with you no matter what it is that you do. You're not ever going to be able to please everybody. So don't worry about it. Just go and do your job. Do what you know is the right thing, and you'll be fine. Situations like this, sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing. I think that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later.